but nothing big, nothing
Okay.
big.
All right, 5:30.
Okay. We will call the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, proof of giving public notice.
Notice was given.
Thank you, sir. Item number 4 is not needed this evening as all members are present. At this point, I'd be looking for a motion to go into closed session for the matter set forth in the agenda. So moved. I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please respond yes with aye if you are in favor.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, we're in closed session.
I'm not gonna lie, that was very confusing when you just said that.
I realized that as I said it. Please reply yes if it's an aye.
Yeah, I looked at Tina, I'm like, sorry, what?
Either way, aye or yes works.
Yep, you got it.
sir. Yeah. All right. We are returning from recess. And we will start off with, somebody?
You just turned it on.
Oh, okay. We'll start off with public comment. On the agenda online, there are posted notices about public comment. Some of the names, I apologize, I don't recognize. So I don't know if you've seen those regarding public comment. Did everyone have a chance to see those on the agenda online of what's allowed and not allowed during public comment?
No.
No,
Don't
all right,
tell your
not a problem, not a problem. Let me read those off then for you.
Anybody can say that.
Not a problem, all right. For public comment, anyone wishing to speak at the board must be present. A 3-minute time limit will be enforced. Public comment is only accepted during agenda items. Also, the board is not allowed to converse back and forth. So we listen, but we can't go back and forth on it. Speakers should address the board as a whole, not individual board members, and should always remain polite and respectful. Only the board president may respond to the comments or questions. Board president has the authority to ask another board member or administrator to respond for clarity. Board members will not respond to the public comments unless designated by the board president. Board president has the authority to cease any conversation at any time for any reason. Public comments will be taken under advisement if public comments are in regard to an agenda item. When the board discusses that particular item during the meeting, the board may consider the comments and questions raised by the public. And only the board will discuss and or take action. There will be no citizen communications during the time of the agenda topics. And finally, speakers are not immune from legal consequences related to content of their speech. Again, these are more formalities. For the people who come regularly, they're aware of it, and so we don't always read it off. But when I see names that I haven't seen before, I just like to share that. We've had times in the past where we've had guests come with the full intent of having a conversation, and we feel bad that we can't have
Boy
one.
Scout every time.
The worst time ever, there was a Boy Scout here who
Yes.
wanted to talk, and it broke my heart to tell him he couldn't talk to us. So I wanted to make sure that those things are out there in front. Okay. First, we have, and again, if I say your name wrong, please forgive me, Justin Sayre? Okay. Chris, do you have it? The time? Yeah, thank you.
So once again, I'm here about the buses. Still haven't received a call back from the board member that I contacted regarding this for my concerns. I got the email from Chris about where this money, or about the bus month numbers. I just want to understand where the number came from. I just think the number and how it's being applied, or how they came to that number towards the pay to ride program is kind of absurd. Cause you stated it's recovery costs. Per state law, I mean, I've been dead horse about this, I understand it, the district is required to provide busing for certain kids. So that number is already established by the bus company. They don't care if it's 5 people or 50 kids on a bus, that number is the number. They don't, if additional kids decide to come on the bus company does not increase their costs. So with that money that's already budgeted, it's already built into my tax dollars. So I know that I'm already paying my taxes to pay for having this bus service. And now that I have, because of our unique district with different schools, my one child can ride the bus for free that I paid for taxes, but my younger child cannot. I have to pay $800, and they both go to her school. That same bus goes from one school to the other school, but because she is younger, I have to pay $850 for her to ride the bus. Again, stops in front of my house. but she's not allowed to get on it unless we pay this absurd amount of money. So if the district's trying to profit off of the money and recoup costs for this, I kind of understand it, but by charging this astronomical number, I think you're not gonna be successful with this, because you're pushing people away from this. You're rather than getting a lot of people, charging a small number, from the people that I've spoken to, there's a lot of people now that are choosing to find other ways. So you're losing money by not making it affordable for normal families. Again, this is something our taxes are already paying for it. Now we're paying for it again. It just feels like you're trying to exploit families that, yes, they can probably afford it, but scheduling conflicts that they need it. Maybe one of those, it's just a scheduling thing for me. And again, I think you're trying to push people away from using this program. You know, again, I have a bus that parks in front, or stops in front of my house. It's half full. And you're not gonna take advantage of that unless you pay money and try and gain money from this. You look at other districts around the area, they don't charge this. If there's room in the bus, they fill the seat. I know I'm in kind of a unique situation where my bus stop goes to different schools, and one kid gets it, one kid doesn't, but there's a lot of other people here that also would like to take advantage of this. And with all the publicity and stuff of this happening, I just don't understand how it hasn't been looked into heavier before you came up with this crazy number. Obviously, everybody in the district knows what kids can and cannot ride the bus. I never got an email or a survey or something like that to try to figure out who would be willing to do this program or not, who this affects. It was just a blanket number that they came out with. I mean, and I hate to kind of say it like this, but it almost seems like just like a personal vendetta towards a certain board member. And that's just kind of sad to me, so that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. We have next Lisa Richter.
That's me.
Lisa.
So I also came because of the busing, because I watched the meeting after I found out about this huge cost that you were gonna be putting on families. And I didn't really feel like the community perspective was represented in that meeting. It was very, very corporate seeming. It was a very corporate response, like it was like some sort of corporate board, but this is actually an elected community board, and I felt like no one was weighing the interests of our community members. It also seemed like a lot of the history you had on the program of the busing was ill-informed. My mom and I, my mom's lived in Hartland for 43 years, and I grew up going to these schools. And the reason they originally started busing kids, even though the state statute doesn't require it, is because you used to be able to just walk to your neighborhood school. Things were restructured around 2005, I think.
I agree.
And they had all the littles at North, then the middle at South, and then obviously the middle school was built. And because they had taken away our neighborhood schools, they instituted a program of busing to kind of, people were angry at the time, and you could take the bus, your kid would still be safely bused to school. And that's why they created this program. That's why we go outside of the state statutes. I feel like none of that was brought up at the meeting, which frustrated me to see that we weren't weighing this with the history of the community. So I thought maybe the board might be new to the community and didn't have this information or wasn't able to research that. But it was kind of a way to like mitigate people wishing they could still send their kids to their neighborhood schools. I also just think as a parent, this is a huge cost to put onto families, especially if you have more than one kid with no cap, you're looking at a huge cost. It is kind of, as he said, a little frustrating that at our bus stop, we're right on that 2-mile border. The bus stop's there anyway. My kids can get on the bus, but then all my neighbors are paying this huge fee when the bus is, we're getting the bus, we're getting the driver, we're getting the gas anyway, we're going to the school anyway. I don't see why, as a community, we can't just get these kids on the bus and taken to school. It's a pretty simple thing. It's a pretty classic part of American education is getting the kids to school safely. I think it's complicated by the fact that we have a lot of like working families in my neighborhood where it's that morning time is kind of a rush. So like getting in the car lines is crazy. And I think as a community, we want to provide that. Again, maybe from like a corporate standpoint, we don't care about that, we just care about what state statutes say, but I think from a community standpoint, we can do much better than that, and that we can get our 5-year-olds to school safely and not try to like claim that they could walk 1.8 miles because some state statute says that they can walk across railroad tracks and it's legal, but that is like Heartlanders, we can do better and we want to do better. So I wanted to represent that point of view, the community point of view, and come before you today and ask you to reconsider this issue.
Thank you. Now we have Peggy Kallenberger.
Yep, that is me. Well, obviously, my daughter included me in some of what we said here. My concern is how there are townhouses across the street from Heartland South, where theoretically you could have a 5-year-old standing on her front porch, looking at the door to go in at Heartland South. But she's not allowed to go to that school. She has to walk 1.5 miles, 5 years old, to Heartland North because of the situation we have where we send all the little ones to Heartland North and then the others to Heartland to South in the middle school. This is absurd. I could just see that kid on the porch. I'm thinking, why? Why would a community do this? We look foolish. I mean, we're getting bad coverage for Arrowhead. Now we're getting, newspaper articles about this stuff. I'm concerned about even as far out as property values. There was a time when people in real estate ads would say Arrowhead schools, Hartland-Lakeside schools. I believe this school was a blue ribbon school. I don't know that people are moving here anymore when they hear things like this. I mean, we seem like crazy people. Truly, the front kid on the front porch is gonna take a hike. No responsible parent is gonna do that. So you're foisting the cost onto the families, or what I think was a bad decision back in 2008. And rather than just adjust it with charging parents and families for this, I think we need to rethink the whole setup, where we've got kids, attending schools far away from their house rather than the one that they live across the street from. I'm slightly embarrassed. I've had people from other communities ask me about this, tease me about it, I guess I should say. And honestly, I think maybe we should be a little embarrassed because this is just ridiculous. Thank you. I would also appreciate more consideration about this and maybe even more public meetings and some more public input rather than just deciding and sending out a letter.
Thank you, Peggy. Last, Ben Sowczyk.
I'm just gonna stand up, sit on my back to everybody. Hi, my name is Ben Sowczyk. I've spoken to the board before. Good to see everybody. I'm speaking today in reaction to some of the budget items. I don't think I'm the best person to talk directly about the buses. My kids are both at Arrowhead now, but they went here. I moved out here from Milwaukee because of some of the great reputations for the Heartland School and everything. So I think that the board has a chance to reset some of the priorities and some of the budget items, including obviously reconsidering some things that the community is saying they're disappointed that it's a done deal and they're hoping it can be reconsidered somehow. I, like many people in Heartland, was barraged with mailers and political advertising about school board elections before the recent April elections. I don't understand how the same groups that control our state legislature and share beliefs with some of the board members keep choking off money and funds for the schools. I don't think the buses are the real thing. If it wasn't the buses, it would be money for enough art supplies or money for robotics. We want to do so many great things for our kids, and there's never enough money. I think we need more money, and more money will allow for the buses to be more flexible and thoughtful, and have maybe a family cap, which seems very reasonable to me. And so I think that's the big idea, the budget priorities and getting more money for our schools. We all just paid our taxes on April 15th or earlier, and that's our money, and it goes to our schools in Heartland, and I want our schools to be the best. I know we're still a blue ribbon school. I think we're third, if I remember the numbers, like third in the state. I remember all the numbers where we're at 97, 98 percentile. So we get docked for not having more improvement because we're already the best, because of our amazing staff members and our really focused administrators. And so Heartland needs more money to keep doing the great things that we've done since 2008 to produce this great community. So I am here to ask the board to push for that, to advocate for more funding, fair funding, and equitable funding. I don't know if this is the solution, but I know when I sit in these meetings, I always see really awesome presentations with interviews with our kids and the projects for our kids. So I'm asking the board please to advocate and show these great things, the poetry projects, the STEM awards, the student work, show them to our representatives and just put it in their face in a good way of all the amazing things Heartland's doing, and that they need to be fair. They need to be fair and they need to give us the money. That is our money that should go to our school. I don't want to see negative progress here at Heartland. I've seen negative progress happen at Arrowhead, and I don't want that to trickle down. Arrowhead is losing, because of financial pinches, losing senior veteran value teachers who have longstanding ties to Heartland, who know the rhythm and workings of our Heartland community, and I don't want the same thing to happen here. I think the #1 priority should be to protect staff and protect the great things the school's done. I will follow up with these short comments with an email to each board member, because I understand the back and forth isn't allowed, but that way there can be, I'm sure some of the numbers and the evidence that we'll hear in the financial presentations today explain why it's happening, but we don't want it to happen. And we're asking the board to push so it doesn't have to happen, please. Again, I know there's also discussions about consolidation. I have personally sat in some of those discussions because they're open to the public, and I know why it might be necessary. Again, it's money, but there's enough money out there, it should go to the schools. I'm here to ask Heartland to push for what's best for Heartland and not follow some of the negative practices that have happened elsewhere. Do not adopt those practices, please, and do push for high quality education for all Heartland families. And one last thing, I know the public comments are set up for efficiency and so that the meeting can be run appropriately, but I believe the board can change the comments. Like if we want more time for Boy Scouts, or if you want to allow back and forth every other meeting, if there's room on the agenda. I think the board should be able to make that happen, like the board makes the rules. So I'll just put that out there for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your comments. Patrick, before we move on, since several comments came in with uncertainty at how the calculation was created, would you please, for the public's sake,
Sure.
just provide the calculation where the number came
The
from?
849 is simply our transportation budget divided by ridership. So it simply looks at what the cost of providing buses and says we have X number of students riding those buses. That is, we pay $849 to move each student from their home to the school.
And that's based on the previous year, right?
Correct. Yep.
Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, last full year.
Thank you. Okay.
Can I ask one clarifying question on the ridership thing or no?
Not really.
Okay, that's fine. Totally fine.
Okay. Next we go into presentation. Number 8, is that when the administration was going to do their presentation? It just says presentation number 8.
No, we are, we're scheduling underneath, it should just be committee. Does your say looking at your copy too?
Okay, I'm just looking, it says presentation number 8, that's fine. We'll just move on to committee reports. All right, let's start off with PBC. John, you can close that door. It's okay.
Okay. Should be pretty quick, but we sat down on policy 2 weeks ago. We went to the personnel report, which is in the consent agenda. We talked about the overnight student travel request, that is also later on in the agenda for tonight. The North Shore Academy and Career Planning Program is going to be talked about later tonight as well. Then we actually have line items for 2 policies, which is conflict of interest and board member behavior. 144.3 and 144.5, those are their own line item later in the document as well, so we'll be able to go through and talk through those. So that was the basis of it. There's a couple exciting things that they're going to talk about a little bit later, and then the final thing was we did get a little bit of a notebook on what's coming into the schools from vendors regarding AI, and Tina's going to make sure that every board member has one of those packets to go through as well. So,
Chris and Morgan.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about this also in the superintendent's report, but that's part of it, each of you. Nope, just each of you, the other two received theirs in
Oh, you already have
PPC
one? Okay.
as the committee members. We'll talk about that here in a hot minute.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Is there anything from the committee with recommendations, or that will be followed up in the,
Everything has a piece inside the agenda, sorry, the agenda later on.
all right, thank you. Next, we have the finance committee report.
Thank you. So we had finance on April 9th. We did our normal go through spending and financial statements, and there was nothing out of the ordinary there. Kudos to Patrick, and I guess it was Crystal, and heavily went into this RFP for managing print services, and we're actually gonna go with a new vendor and getting, what's the savings?
50,000 over 5 years.
50,000 in savings, so over
Very
5
good.
years, so that was good work from them. And then we spent a lot of time talking about budget. And specifically, now the numbers have changed, but I know there's been a lot of talk about busing and the cost, and part of the challenge we face as a district is 75 to 80% of our costs are with our people in terms of staff and benefits. And for our benefits costs, our initial quote was a $400,000 increase in health insurance costs. That's on a $16 million budget roughly so it's a substantial increase. Those are some of the challenges we face here. We spent a lot of time talking about it, some strategies to mitigate it, some things we can promote to maybe help staff members make some decisions that might help with some savings and things of that nature. Fortunately, after that meeting, I think Patrick and maybe others met with our broker and others, and there's been discussions and that amount is coming down, but it is not coming down to a no increase, not surprisingly. But when kind of thing, nothing goes down, but so we spent a lot of time talking about what's this $400,000 increase going to do to us next year. Again, we're looking at something less than that, but that got a lot of airtime there. I think that's it. I don't know if there's anything else more than that. I guess you're going to talk a little bit in your presentation.
Yeah, I'll share more.
Okay, thank you. Next section is the consent agenda. We have monthly voucher and purchasing card report, the meeting minutes from March 23rd, the personnel report, and then donations. There are none this evening. If anyone has any items they'd like to be removed, please let me know. If not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Great, motion carries, thank you very much. New business. First one is to do the official oath of Morgan. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So at this point, I'll turn it over to our clerk.
What do you want, you want
You get to read.
okay. I, Morgan Henning, having been elected or appointed to the office of School Board of Hartland-Lakeside, but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. Thanks.
You get signed too.
Next, 11B, discussion of the North Shore Academic and Career Planning Program. Turn that over to the administration.
So every year, annually, we have to submit the ACP, and I've got my middle school principal, John Fox, here, as well as our curriculum coordinator, soon to be the director of curriculum, Sarah Blankenheim. What we noticed is this was missed. I mean, I could have had it on my timeline. We've got all these new people, but good thing is it's only been 4 days. But we have to sign off on this every year. Now, what we've always done is had this form, and it's involved things that that we used to do, but we had a great opportunity. John and Sarah went through the whole form and we were able to update it based on strategic plan, portrait of a graduate, and some of the new things that we're doing. I don't know if either of you have some more information that you can share with the board in regard to that work and exactly what it means for the district.
Hello, everybody. So our academic and career planning is a state statute that all school districts in Wisconsin must follow to highlight the things in which they're doing to promote that statute in their schools. And that has to be published on district website, the same way that we have to publish certain, board policies, things like that. So just because of statute. What our district has done regarding Portrait of a Graduate has exceeded the boundaries of the requirements of ACP so much, it is not even comparable. So what we've done with the themes of Portrait of a Graduate, with K-8, really the themes at each school, the classes in which we've started here for students to have everything regarding where they've been, what they're doing now, and what they're planning to do. That's basically ACP in a nutshell. It's looking at what is the school district doing to prepare each child for what their next is. Whether that's military service, whether that's in the workforce, whether that's some sort of post-high school education, certification programs. That's what ACP is all about. And we do a very, very thorough job of that for the 8th graders, sending them off to what's next. So the purpose of what we did, what Sarah put together for the website and then submitted to our CISA representatives in our region was basically just checking that box, saying here's the litany of things that we're doing in the Hartland-Lakeside district. We now satisfy the requirements, and that just requires a board vote to solidify all that.
And it was very easy to revise because of all of the stuff we've done with Portrait of a Graduate. It was like, so, and a few things that we have goals for next year that we want to bring back. For example, more our career day.
Yep.
And some 8th grade field trips where they go and explore different types of fields that we've done in the past we want to bring back.
All right, is there a motion we need to make?
Just need to approve it.
The challenge is on the website, it says discussion. It does not say decision.
Oh, that's my bad.
So I think we'll have to wait to do it. The timing on this is due by when?
4 days ago.
Although the CISA
I think
We're fine.
we're gonna be just fine till the next board.
She did say we were in compliance because I sent it to her and I said it would be hopefully on the 20th. But
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll understand.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
We'll work
We can-
around
We
it.
can do that, and she already talked to CISA, so we're good.
Okay.
So we'll just make a decision on May 20th at our board meeting.
Okay.
Just put it under consent agenda or something.
Yeah, at that point, you could probably do consent.
Yeah. Nope,
No, it's
not a
no.
problem.
No problem. It probably just, when it pulled from original
Consent.
consent for a
Yes.
conversation, they
Yeah.
probably just missed the decision part of it. Okay, next we'll move on to the discussion decision on the overnight student travel request for the 8th grade trip to the Washington DC in 26-27.
This is also very exciting, we're bringing it back, and John we met and he brought a compelling presentation to me to say, hey, I really think this is something we should do. We brought it to PPC last week, and that committee said, yeah, let's put it forward, and this was something that we also had in consent, but we pulled out, I think, today just to be able to give it a little bit of a highlight. So John, go ahead and share a little bit about what the plan is here.
Yeah, so like I said to some of you at PPC, when I came on last summer, it was almost simultaneous when I was having one-on-one meetings with all of our staff members here. There were 2 staff members who we kind of just started talking about it at the same time. They were social studies teachers. They are social studies teachers here, and I've seen this trip in several schools that I've either when I was an 8th grade student or when I was teaching at middle schools, and it's a very, very successful trip. It aligns really well with 8th grade civics and government. We're looking to design it as an optional trip for next year's 8th graders starting. That will be in the springtime of next year, probably the month of May. We want to give people plenty of lead time because it's a pricey trip to fly to Washington DC. So we want to give people a year's planning time for that. I've tasked those 2 advisors to look into area scholarship opportunities and grant proposals. HLEF is an excellent partner that we can start having conversations with about something. Also Rotary and other local groups that we can put our heads together for to help offset some costs. And we've put together a really nice 4-day itinerary with a company that's called World Strides. That this is basically all they do is educational travel, and it's an excellent trip. So we're really excited. Some kind of informal polling here at the middle school shows that kids they're raging about it already, so they're really excited. So next year, planning spring trip for the current 7th graders when they're 8th grade, and then the 6th graders would go in the fall, and then it would be a recurring fall trip. It just lines up a little bit better with curriculum to go in the fall than the springtime.
They go in their 8th grade.
They go in their 8th graders.
Just correct.
The current, that would be.
I'm not gonna have them ready for you in
now.
October.
Thank you, Mr. Rich, no. So, I wonder if there are any questions or any discussion points about that?
Is there a max amount of kids, or would you kind of figure out how to?
It would be, there's no max. There's no max, and there are savings involved for chaperones for example, every 10 kids that go, we get a little savings for chaperones to go, things like that. I'm thinking, it's gonna end up being, 75% of the class is gonna end up wanting to take advantage of that. I really do. I think the first year might be a little light. I think as it becomes just kind of standard operating procedure around here, it'll start to be a pretty popular trip, I think.
And how do we sign up to be a chaperone?
It will be a couple of years in advance. Very cool. There'll be more info coming out from those advisors as we find it happening.
Great. Yeah. I just had one question on that. So the district's not covering anything because it's an optional trip and you're gonna fundraise, but what about those kids that may be on free or reduced?
Yeah.
Will there be any help for them?
I think that would be just a good thing for us to look into and discuss to see where we are with some of our we have our Crusader funds, we have HLEF, we have those scholarship opportunities to look at that. We certainly don't want, with a year's planning time, we don't want cost to be a barrier. If someone really wants to go and we wanna try to help make it happen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I figured, but I just wanted to.
Yeah, for sure.
Get that out there.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, so this is looking for a decision. So if there are no further comments, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the student travel request for the Washington DC trip of 26-27 school year.
So moved.
Oh, gotcha.
Second.
Completely.
And triple stamp, double stamp. Any additional conversation or discussion items on the motion to approve? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for helping organize it.
I'm gonna send an email to 2 staff members who are gonna be really excited right now, so thank you.
The 8th graders that are current still say that they need something, so I just want to make sure that you don't forget about them.
I know. They got a couple things up there.
So advancing.
So the next item on the agenda is discussion of the policy 0144.5, board member behavior communications and code of conduct, and policy number 144.3, conflict of interest. Chris, you mentioned this earlier.
So if I can just lead from the policy committee, it was brought up that it would be discussed during the meeting and take a look at it. We looked at it during committee and decided we would just bring it forth to see if there was any changes, things that needed to be looked into. So we brought it before the board to take a look at it. today.
So at this point, it would be if anyone has any comments on the policies as they're written.
I have a question, obviously. Communication. So I was looking back and I know that we approved this in March of 24, March 11th, 2024. You guys approved, or the board approved. But I noticed that we took out a huge section called board member use of electronic communication devices prohibited. And I am wondering if anyone on the board had any, rationale as to why that was taken out back then. I watched the board meeting back then today and I didn't see any discussion.
I think it was in committee, maybe Tina, if you remember
Right.
correctly, because I wasn't part of that committee, but I remember talking about it.
I saw you on the.
But I think we didn't do it. I don't think the board has communication devices, if that's the same way you're thinking.
So it's like not using it during the meeting and, unless I'm misunderstanding that.
No, that one's, I'm thinking of a different one, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so this,
That would have been equipment that we don't have.
right, that would make sense. So this just says an individual board member's use of electronic communication devices such as cell phones or smartphones during a board meeting, both during open session and during closed session, may lead to the public's and or board members' perception that a board member is not paying attention, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I would love to propose that this gets pushed back to PPC and you guys look at that, if possible, and see why, if maybe we could add that back in.
Sure, we can send it back and take a look and see what's there.
Morgan, can you tell me again what that date is and?
3/11/24 was the meeting that I watched. Amy Hartland brought up other ones during that meeting, but I didn't hear any discussion about this. And I know it would have come from a committee, but I didn't see anything, so.
Would Neola have any history of whether or not that was an either or choice?
Yeah.
It was the either or choice.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, so the initial response was we didn't have it on there because we weren't gonna police it with it, which is why that choice was there.
Yes, we can go back, we'll just bring it back in May to the PPC meeting, I'll do some research on it and figure out where and why, and you guys can decide what you wanna do with it. Fair enough?
Sounds good. Anything else on either policy?
So I went through the still on the communication report, 144.5. It says, number T, that we should disclose any actual or perceived conflict of interest. Where is this done and do we keep that somewhere? Cause I know I've talked about, or it's been brought up about HLEF and all that, but should I be documenting that somewhere?
Is this in 144.5?
Yep, number T.
T.
Letter T, sorry. T can be a number, you just have to figure it out in a formula.
Probably something for policy to research and find out from Neola if there's any best practices of something being done with other districts.
That'd be great, and then going to P, I was gonna say number again, letter P, refrain from using their board positions for personal partisan gain. Would this include participating in seminars or panels or things of that nature, or what do we really define that as, do we know? Any specifications on that?
No, I think the keyword's gain, so I think you can be.
I mean, subjective of the person.
That's I think part of that rule, it's sort of subjective on what that would be.
And along that line, we as board members need to disclose that to the board or the district if we are participating in those types of things?
I don't think, well, if you're refraining from it, you should be disclosing it. So
I'm sorry, what?
if you're refraining from it,
Correct, but if you, well, maybe you don't think you're getting a gain from it, but you're participating in it and gifted things or paid for it, do you have to disclose that? Or can we come up with a policy that maybe we state that that should be?
so I believe there's an enforcement, I believe there is a reporting action for it.
Okay.
Reading through here.
Well, I think
Or
the
there's a
enforcement
referral to law enforcement.
was more
Yeah.
just like if you did it wrong. But maybe it's in the spirit of the transparency of I'm using my board position to speak at things. Does the district need to know about that? Well, I mean, is that something we as a board want to look at and make a policy on?
I mean, from my perspective, I mean, the only, if anybody's speaking on a board or a panel outside the board, they should be speaking from their personal, it's just like if you post something on Facebook or whatever, it should be your own personal opinion, not the, you shouldn't be a representative of the board out there in another forum speaking on behalf of the Hartland-Lakeside School Board.
I mean, I assume, I know that that's assumed, but would that mean then not using the name, like saying that you're even on the board, or how would that then work in execution?
I think it's you're an independent voice at that point in time, you're no longer a acting board member, you're now a voice of information, you're acting on your own terms, not as the voice of the board or the school district.
Sure.
I mean, I know I was quoted in the Journal Sentinel at least twice, and I told the reporter when he called me that I'm speaking on behalf of myself, not the board, but I've been quoted as Matt Schwab, member of the Hartland-Lakeside School Board.
Yeah, I guess I'm more concerned of, you know, we're going out and going to, I don't even know a good example, but like a seminar where it says Morgan Henning, Hartland-Lakeside School Board, but it wasn't approved by any of us, but obviously I know I'm speaking of my own personal, but that sign says I'm from Hartland-Lakeside. Do we then say, you know, what are the rules on that?
I don't think there's a conflict of interest as long as you're acting on behalf of yourself. And
Right, I mean, you
sit
know
on
you
the
are,
board.
but how does the public know that?
Should we put ourselves in a situation where we have
Oh, I don't think we
Matt
should.
McNulty, you know,
No.
Hartland-Lakeside School?
No, I don't think you, well, actually, no, it's your own personal choice, because
Well, yeah,
you are your own
I guess
person.
I'm showing my opinion too, I don't think we should.
I don't
do
think
that.
so either, but I just want to make sure that things are brought up and in the open for if and when things were to
Has this
happen.
ever happened here?
I don't know,
Remember
I have not,
Been
but
caught doing it?
I don't know if it's caught doing it, or,
I mean, we gotta
Just do
refrain
it.
from it, right, so.
right. But how would, if someone was participating in those, what would,
I think at that point, you then are violating the guidelines and you take the next steps, whether it's dealing with authority, whether it's a
Right.
conversation that pops up inside of a board meeting regarding those things, where you are in violation of those said laws or guidelines, and then the board would have to discuss that piece of it, or law enforcement would deal with anything that's higher or above that.
okay.
Anything else from that policy? All right, anything from the other policy? 144.3. Okay. Nope,
the only thing I did want to say is if at any point in time, we'll take it back and look at the other policy, which is the behavior, which is the one that's just discussed. A couple of topics that were brought up regarding where to disclose and what was the first part of there? I did write that one down.
Where to disclose the actual and perceived conflict?
Yep, that was one I just mentioned, and there was one prior to that.
That was the first one, and then letter P was participating in seminars or panels.
Which that one I think we discussed, so we'll come back with the other one.
Yeah.
And then we have conflict of interest, if at any point in time the board wants to do any more further actions or even look into practice, we could use a board work session at that point in time to dive deeper into best board practices. For the policies that we'll go back and review the one and bring it back, hopefully for the board to take a look at, or what we found out of it in the next policy.
So I actually apologize, I want to kind of go back. For consistency and transparency, I know that I have an opinion from the district's legal counsel about my position with HLEF that was brought up through emails and not the board. How do we ensure that that's consistently applied for all board members?
I think we're policing ourselves and each other as well as the public. Those pieces.
Okay, so then with that in mind, Chris, do you have an opinion from legal, about your dual board roles?
Yes, it's very common and there's no conflict unless there was a personal or private gain.
Do you have that written approval or written opinion from our legal counsel like you did get for my HLEF position?
Yes.
Could you please share it with the board?
With the board?
Yes.
I don't have it in front of me, but I can share it. That's
Yes.
from
I mean, I
Mark.
have asked multiple times about this, so I just would like to, I would love to just see that, and I don't know why it hasn't been shared since it's been brought up, but that's maybe me not specifically asking for it,
First
so I
time you've asked.
apologize.
Sure.
I will refrain from other comments. So yeah, I would love to see the consistency applied for both positions and anyone else going
Well, I'd
forward.
say it should be consistent applied for everybody.
Yeah, I meant to say
That's
going
there,
forward,
yeah.
everyone consistently
And
applied
then,
going forward.
once again, if you feel there's a violation, there's different ways that handle that inside of there.
Well,
Besides the
yeah,
self-reporting portion of it, but below whether we send a complaint or we speak about it for certain reasons, those are all listed down below in there as well.
cool, thank you. I look forward to seeing the written opinion.
Sure. Okay, anything else on the policies? All right, next moving on to future enrollments.
Thank you. So this is my thing I came up with, so this is not from Patrick or anything, so some of the numbers on here are estimates, things of that nature, but this is something that's kind of been on my mind since I was elected to the board. It's just, long-term financial planning, and we are coming up next month. I think we're gonna have a workshop on the capital plan, is that right?
Yeah.
So we've got somebody in there who's done that. I know Patrick and Amy before him, they have a program they use when they set the year's budget that they can go forward multiple years. So it's not to suggest the school isn't looking at this sort of stuff, but I hear over and over lots of comments about declining enrollment, and we get paid, we raise tax funds on a per head basis, right? So we lose 10 kids, there's a set amount of money that we lose. And so I've always I'd like us to be more I'm not looking for any decision tonight, I wanted to kind of share some of this information so we have it in our discussions going forward as we look at our capital plan, as we look at our budget for next year, as we get pressures from busing and health insurance and all these different things. So this is some stuff I've pulled together. So what this first slide is basically is on the Department of Education, Wisconsin Department of Education. You can go back all the way to 2005, and for any school in the state, you can get enrollment. So that's where these numbers are from. I've color-coded them there based upon grades, because I don't know that somebody spoke to this earlier, I don't know the buildings have always been the same in terms of what, but you can see we peaked as a district of enrollment in 2008, 2009 of about 1,437 students. Our last year count was 1,091 students, right? That's a drop of almost 350 students. Okay, that's a lot of kids, right? So you can see I've added kind of that linear trend, it's a downward trend. You can see it from the bars. If you jump to the next slide, that 350 drop, if you look at the bottom, what I've basically, let me just tell you, what I've done here is basically that 26, 27 column on the upper left is what we all use to approve kind of open seat enrollments. Okay, so that's our estimated student count for each grade next year, okay? If you look at our 8th grade class, 133 kids in that class. If you look at our K4 and K5 and 1st and 2nd, those classes are all below 100 people, right? We're getting like $12,000 a head for every kid. Every 10 kids is roughly $120,000 of less funds. Next year, we're gonna lose that 8th grade class with 133 kids, and we are gonna replace it with a kindergarten class, which have been averaging 85. That's a 50 kid drop times $12,000 a kid. So we're $700,000 in drop in funding, okay? That 350 peak, just to give you a sense of what that volume of kids is, that 350 peak from 2008 to 2009 to last year, what I've done at the bottom there is kind of grouped by grades. You can see 350, we've basically lost, if you look at any building today, all those kids just disappeared and they're no longer in, take away any of the buildings and that's gone, that's what we've lost, right? And we are at, what's over on the far side, that group, the highest building count we've ever had. So it's a little bit higher than our peak because classes shift around, but there's been times we've had close to 500 kids in these buildings, right? And we're looking at 300 kids per building, 330, 350 in the next couple of years. And if these trends, what I've done is I've kind of just kept rolling it forward, right? And I keep adding it with like 85 at the back, because I don't know how many kindergartners there's gonna be in 2 years, none of us know that, right? But we know just from the state that there are less people having babies and living here and moving to this area, right? And so what I've attempted to do is next year it's a little bit more than 12,000 a head, but 12,000 a head times the 1040 gets you to $12.5 million bucks. You can see every year we drop kids. Even if we get that per head revenue, I've increased it by 325. That's the Evers 400-year improvement, which all of our congressmen are saying is ridiculous and is terrible and needs to be repealed. That's a 2.7% increase from 12,000, 325 is 2.7 of that. That percentage, obviously 325, the number gets bigger as 325, it becomes a smaller and smaller percentage. The $400,000 increase I just talked about on healthcare is a 2.5% increase on our $16 million budget, okay? So if we just took that health insurance, we didn't go bid it out and say, yeah, sign up, we get that, 400,000, that's a 2.5% increase. That, haven't given any teachers any raises. School supplies probably getting more expensive, printing's getting more expensive, insurance elsewhere is getting expensive. Capital improvements are getting more expensive. Even with that 325 and this declining head count, we're gonna be below 12 million bucks in 5 years from this amount. So we are in a real need, and that drop in 2030, 2031 is 535 kids, that's the bottom right, 535 kids less than what we had at our peak in 2008, 2009. Okay, so I think we need to be seriously considering planning for this, and what does this mean for us as a district? Arrowhead waited and prayed for referendums, and they did not pass. Now they're making very unpopular teacher cuts. Lake Country prayed for referendums, they didn't pass. They had to threaten to close their school to get a referendum to pass that probably just bought them 2 or 3 more years, right? We are in very strong financial shape, we make good decisions, but it's an it's inevitable, there is a financial crush coming, okay? And we have 3 buildings we are operating that are just getting smaller and smaller in terms of capacity. So I think we need to be thinking strategically as we look at our capital plan to where we're prioritizing our dollars. I think we need to be thinking about these things when we're setting our budget, when we're doing programming. I just want people to be aware, to have a dollar amount, not just this, hey, declining enrollment's a thing, it's a problem, right? Like, try to put some level of dollar on it, because you can see going from $12.5 million to $12 million, that's $500,000 in aggregate loss over 5 years. And stuff's gonna be a lot more expensive 5 years from now, and we got 3 years of teacher raises and health insurance. So I don't wanna raise like the panic flag, but I also don't want, we're gonna do fine. We're gonna pass a budget this year, it's gonna balance, we're gonna find ways to do what we need to do, but every year that gets harder for us. And if we don't start looking ahead and start thinking about creative ways to addressing some of this stuff, I think whoever's on the board in 3 years, be it me or anybody in this room, is gonna be stuck with the decisions we make in these couple of years and deal with those consequences. So like I said, there's no decision to be made. I'm not suggesting we propose to do something drastic here, but I want everybody to have this in the back of their mind as we start to look at this stuff going forward. Questions?
That's crazy to see it laid out like that. Do we see any increase from our 5th graders coming to 6th grade, like a bump in counts because people are wanting to come to the middle school?
I mean, I think every year we're looking at it. I look at these numbers, I really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation, because I think it's that declining enrollment conversation. We talk about health insurance. I think that before we have a lot of people that are sitting, at home, maybe armchair quarterback in this thing, I just wanna make sure that it's really clear and that we understand that, yep, while we have this declining enrollment, it's not in one grade level. So it's not like from a teacher perspective, we can just be like, well, we're overstaffed. We're not overstaffed. We can't have classrooms in 1st grade of 25, 26 kids and lose 1 or 2 kids out of each grade level and say, okay, we can cut staffing. That's not how that works, right? I think also when you start to talk about health insurance, I think back in the day, man, when I first started, my deductible was $0, my premium was $0. Like nowadays, I'm just here to tell you all that is not the case. Our teachers are paying 20% premiums, their deductibles are $4,000 and $5,000 and $6,000, their max out of pocket is 10 grand. I mean, it's not the way it used to be, right? And so I think we've done a lot of the work to try to find different areas to pull money back from. I look at this and I'm like, oh, 25, 26 isn't on there. We all know that we've got about 1,110 kids this year. So we've really worked hard to close that gap. We also are looking at different ways to work on open enrollment. Had a great conversation with Heather today, who's doing a huge push and campaign for 4K and programming. But this is very real. This is very real. It suggests conversations that allude to the possibility of combining some of our own district schools, right, within just Hartland-Lakeside. It suggests combining with other area schools and maybe having some of those conversations that the community kind of rumbles about. I don't know what next steps are. It is good for us to be mindful and stay aware and very cognizant of this, and certainly I think I just wanted to make sure that, before we start going, oh, what about this and what about that and we could do that, and trust me, that every single rock is being overturned and every compartment is analyzed and looked at both by Patrick and myself. I've never had a business finance person tell me line by line they're going through all 1,000 some other lines trying to make sure that the funds are there and that we're finding things. And just like any position in any district, you're always looking for funds. But I don't know that there's a bump, but I definitely think that our middle school is gaining some traction.
Yeah, I mean, we've closed the gap on the open enrollment the last couple of years. We were a net exporter and now we're flat, basically, and that's made about a $400,000 difference over the last 2 to 3 years, thanks to the efforts of the administration, teachers, everything, making this a desirable place to be. But this concept, right, I told you it's $12,000 a head, right? You lose 25 kids, that's $300,000. 25 kids is a class, right? Do any teachers here make $300,000, so we just cut a teacher and we save the three, right?
Right.
No,
Right.
so,
And you don't lose them from one class, so.
no, and that's the whole point here,
The
right?
revenue's
Like, look
dropping.
at, next year, right, we're basically losing at the middle school level, we're losing 19 kids, or is it 21 kids? 21 kids, right, 112 to 131.
Oh, from that top level.
Right, cause you're basically gonna move up, the fifth graders are gonna go 118, so you don't lose, I think we've already, didn't we make an adjustment in the kindergarten or K4 recently to, like a teacher left and we didn't renew one of the slots?
Yeah, that was 3 years ago.
I mean, we've kind of, this stuff happens and it will naturally happen, but it's not just like, oh, well, we can't just cut 20 teachers next year to make this thing up.
And if you look at the statistics, 92% of the districts in Wisconsin are experiencing some level of declining enrollment. Basically, if you look at a district, if there's not a building boom going on within that district, their enrollment is declining. You can see it, some faster than others, some populations are aging and young families are not moving in, what even expedites the loss of students. One other note I would make, and just so that people are aware, when we say total revenue, Wisconsin uses what's called a revenue limit system to fund our schools. That's what's available to us before we would have to go to referendum. That doesn't mean the state is giving us $12 million. That $12 million, that 12.5, is broken up between state aid, local aid, and federal aid. So, but in a community like this where, I'll just say it, compared to other districts, is fairly property rich. We get less and less state aid every year because the state uses a formula that says, hey, you've got plenty of local property wealth, you should be able to fund your schools largely through local property taxes. As you continue to move that ball down the road, that the onus shifts more and more to the local and less from the state under the current model.
Yeah, and the count isn't exactly what I said, I mean, it's a rolling 3-year count.
Yeah, it gives you the
But it's
picture.
directionally, and it's, we're at a little over 12,000.
Yeah, so it would slow down the trajectory a little bit because they use a 3-year rolling average. So they look back 3 years and that's kind of where their count comes from.
Every year you roll off a high year and you put on
a low year.
So I mean, it's.
Well, and we're also losing more kids to choice and vouchers, and those are things that we aren't seeing.
Which get funded at a greater level.
Correct.
Yeah.
So anyway, look, you don't need to make any decisions here, but I think, there's been talk of consolidation at Arrowhead and in those feeder school meetings, we've got decisions, whether or not that gets traction, there's decisions we need to make here to make sure we're solid.
Matt, I think you did a great job.
Yeah,
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I agree, I think it's just a good context to have in mind when you make the budget decisions that you make, that these are the realities we face.
Yeah, we gotta plan 5 years, not 1 year.
Correct. So it is helpful. It is helpful. Okay. Any other comments? All right, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Yes, so with that in mind, I want to highlight what Matt just said. That doesn't mean that we just stop and we just sit and we just wait for things to happen. We stay moving forward, we stay doing what's best for kids, and we stay building programs to draw population to our district, to put us above and beyond what all other districts in this area are doing. And the team that's about to stand before you right now has done just that. They've worked really hard to have conversations, to build a plan, to assess what our students really need. This isn't just, oh, I think this would be neat for us to do. They went through a lot of planning at the district level. Then they, as a team, came together and said, well, what are you doing and what are you doing and how can we all combine and connect our greater cause in this? And taking in mind that strategic plan that this board developed with the community and everybody a year ago, with the Portrait of a Graduate, you're gonna hear about how those pieces, those themes, those concepts came together. And then this crew came together and worked with their leadership teams. And what you're going to see is a really robust program that takes us far beyond your math and literacy and test taking. It takes you into application, and it's truly the evolution of learning. And so team, I've got Dave Risch, I've got John Fox, I've got Heather Whalen, and Sarah Blankenham here tonight to express to you and share with you all the great ideas and improvements for Hartland-Lakeside School District. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. I think it's really exciting to talk about something that is highly engaging for kids. So hopefully a lot of your children, when they have an experience in science, when they have an experience in outdoor ed, come home and talk about it. They may not tell you about every writing lesson, no offense to our literacy program, right? Or how they solve their math problem every day. But the reason I bring this up is because I've been thinking about enhancing our science program for a couple of years. And what would that look like? And so I've had a great opportunity to team with the rest of the administrators and talk about it. So our goal today is to tell you guys a little bit about our current model and then give you some ideas of the direction we want to move with this. Because we have a robust literacy program. Probably, I would think, one of the best in the state. I mean, the way we adapt and absorb things is truly impressive. Same thing's true with our math programming. I mean, it's outstanding. And the strategic plan, which was assembled last year and then we integrated with Portrait of a Graduate, has only complemented and strengthened our current curriculum programs. So to talk about science, again, think about hands-on. The kids love being, involved in those things. They love going down to the pond or into the woods and doing projects with their peers. So we're gonna just spend like 15 minutes on that. We're gonna walk through that with you and give you some ideas that we really want to pursue. Okay?
Can I just add one of the other things that kind of thinking about is we don't know what kind of jobs these kids are gonna have. And so we have to think what we can do now to help prepare them, and this is also where this is coming from.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
Obviously, phase one, this year we all came together and integrated these fantastic 6 themes of Portrait of a Graduate. And it was a really great way for all 3 buildings to be on the same page and to use common language. And as we learned when we went through literacy changes and math planning, common language is really critical for our teachers. They can adapt to that, they can share and collaborate with that, and they can build on it. So all 6 of these themes have been really impressive to watch our teachers adapt, watch our students learn from them, and recognize we had to kind of give them the baseline of, what are these words? And then what do they mean to themselves as a learner? And then how does that affect the other people they're learning with? But again, an excellent, a very meaningful impact on our year and in some of our curriculum. So Portrait of a Graduate, when we think about that, we have that really rich foundation. And for us, we want to talk about application next, right? They understand those 6 themes. They kind of have a better concept of what that means to themselves. And then we want to learn to apply some things. So we talk about application in this phase, right? We really want to talk about science as it's translating STEM into what we're calling durable skills through purposeful innovation and integration into the core subjects. So we think about some extensions of those 6 themes from Portrait of a Graduate. Problem solving, critical thinking, creative thinking, perseverance, and inquiry. And if you go back over to this side, right, we have some things from the strategic plan and from your mission that connect to that, right? When we talk about critical thinkers, lifelong learners, etc. So we have core integration, using them in some of our current areas, but we want to expand on that. And the big thing here is application. How can those students use those skills? Because as Sarah said, hey, we do not know what they're going to be doing, but these skills will definitely transfer into some of those things. Okay, so here's our goal, right? We want to be recognized, in addition for the rich literacy and math programming that we have, we want to be recognized as a cohesive K-8 pathway in science, grounded in our portrait of graduate that fosters purposeful exploration for every student. So I kind of introduced and talked about those real-world applications, problem-solving, critical thinking, creative thinking, perseverance, and inquiry. And we're going to talk about the science and STEM and outdoor education programming we currently have, but we're going to tell you that our next step toward the end of this presentation is to move and build on some new signature programs. So we're going to talk about enhancing robotics, right? Building up our technology education programming, which is also career technology education, or CTE, as a broader umbrella. And then talk about our environmental programs or our outdoor programs, and some new ideas like hydroponics. So each one of us is going to talk a little bit about the current science and technology and STEM programming we have.
So I have some notes, because I have so many things I was thinking about after we talked about this today, and I don't want to forget anything, but Dave really talked a lot about the purposeful exploration for every student. And at North, we're starting with that with our 4-year-olds. And we have some great spaces to do it, and one of our spaces is the Dreams Lab. And that's a place where students can really take the skills they're working on in the classroom and transfer them to hands-on experiences. And we have so many really great opportunities between the Dreams Lab and our new library, where the kids can get these experiences. And there's the things that go into that are their questioning, there's creativity, there's problem solving, there's designing, there's collaboration. It all goes into the things they're doing in those spaces. And just to mention a few favorites when they're in the Dreams Lab or the library, because they kind of go back and forth. But a couple of the favorites are, we have rigabojigs, if you've ever heard of them, but they're these wooden pieces, and the kids can just like dream about what they want to build with them, and then they put them together, and there's gears, and there's these pieces, and they build robots, and the robots are like life-size robots, bigger than them, and they build houses and things like that. That they're just creating, and they're working together to get those things to happen. We have the Osmos, which are iPads, but the great thing about this, even though it's a technology piece, is that they're interactive. So there's another piece that goes with the iPads, and it's interactive, and it really is an extension of math, is what they're doing when they're using those. We have Bebots and then other robots in the Dreams Lab. And the students can either use an iPad sometimes to do the coding on it, and then they'll put like an obstacle course, and they'll run them through the obstacle course. Sometimes we have these other little things that we get cardboard out, or a big whiteboard, and they draw a path. And then they're programming these little guys to run on this path. And it's amazing to me to watch what they can do when they're in these spaces. So we have those. We have magnetiles that are like life size. Those things are so magnetic that you gotta be careful you don't get your fingers stuck in them. But you can build things, and the kids can be inside of them. And if you know anything about little kids, which I'm sure you all do, if they can build something and go inside of it, it just makes them so happy. So we have that. We have added a couple more things that have to do with building and creating. And we continue to look for opportunities of things that we can buy, whether we're writing a grant to get them, or I'll find something, and I'll we're buying this, we have to get it. And so we order it to put it in the Dreams Lab or the library. So the greatest thing about those spaces is that when I walk in there, I am listening to the conversations that are happening. And the things you hear, the kids are problem solving, they're working together. And so it's really a nice example of the skills that they're learning outside of those spaces being turned into some real life experiences. And that's really fun to watch. In addition to that, each of our classrooms has the Project Lead the Way kits. And they use those for teaching science. And just to have an idea of what some of the things they get from the kids, the lessons, one of them in kindergarten, it's one of their favorites, and honestly, it's one of my favorites too, is the 3 Little Pigs. So they go into groups and they have to build a house out of either sticks, straw, or bricks. And the best part is they take some time, a couple days, and they build it and they make sure it's really solid. And then we get out the leaf blower and you put the wolf on the end of it, because why wouldn't you put the wolf on the end of the leaf blower? And he blows on all the houses and you see how strong they are. And some of them fall down and some of them don't. But what a great opportunity to have a really rich discussion about what works, what went well, what could you have done better, what are the materials that worked really well, what materials didn't work well. So you can be guaranteed that I'm there when we're doing that lesson, because it's just a fun one. Then on top of that, we also have our rich outdoor education program, and Mrs. Marshall does a fantastic job of creating the love of the outdoors with our kids. The great thing about that is sometimes she's even creating the love of outdoors with kids who didn't even know they loved it. So we get out into the woods, and a couple things that happen out there. As soon as the weather turns warm, we're tapping trees. And we're getting all the sap out of the trees. All of our trees have names, so you can go out and you know which tree is which. And we make some predictions every year, like which tree is gonna have the most sap, which tree is not going to. And then we keep track on a bulletin board of how much they produce. So there's a lot that goes into that. Once the sap is all taken out of the trees, it's cooked down and made into syrup. And then the syrup is made into candy, and then the kids get to eat the candy or try it. 4K does it a little different. They make pancakes and they put the syrup on the pancakes. I prefer that, but the syrup is really good. So a couple other things they do out there, they identify bugs, different plants, there's birds, and they're like identifying all of these birds and then the calls that the birds make, and how we extend that into our day is on the announcements we play the bird calls, and then we have the kids guess what they are over the announcements, and they get super excited if they know what bird it was. But it's kind of amazing that they actually learn what a bird sounds like and can identify it. We do, animal tracks are big, and then another one is when it snows, if we get enough snow, they do quinzies, which are kind of like an igloo, and they leave them, and then the kids they're like little igloos, and the kids can go and snuggle up in there. Again, anything they can get into, they love. So I could go on and on, but the point of all of this is that all of these things really create a nice balance and an engaging approach to the science, technology, engineering, and math program that we're talking about. And they foster that curiosity, the problem solving, collaboration, and the love of learning. And that's what we want them to take with them when they leave us at Hartland North and they go to Hartland South. And it gets them ready for what's to come. But I think our job is just really creating that foundational experience for them to get their hands in all of those things that they take with them.
That was excellent. I won't share as many examples, and honestly, I don't know that I have as many. Part of it is the reason that we share Mrs. Marshall, and she spends a lot more time with the younger students. So part of the reason we're here today is I want to do more to enhance what Heather starts out in that foundation. Do we go to the STEM lab? Absolutely. Do we do Project Lead the Ways? Kids, yes we do. In fact, like our 5th graders will build and code a robot in the STEM lab. It's a lot of moving pieces. They work as a group. they modify their robot, there's sensors involved in it, so they have to be able to set forth and pick up or move an object or navigate around an object. And it's a highlight of the year. We have been doing that for a long time, and I'm thinking that we want to keep doing that, but we want to do other things in addition to that, because just 10 weeks in that room is not enough for my students. They would love to stay in there and build and do other things. The fourth graders build a race car. The third graders used to have a Let-It-Go robotics kit. They also have Project Lead the Way, but it's time for a refresh on some of those things as well. We have outdoor education because Mrs. Marshall comes over and works with our third graders, kind of an extension of what they've been doing. We have enhanced that this year by planning an all-outdoor day with fifth grade, an all-outdoor day with fourth grade, a couple of times throughout the year. And we've integrated the core content into that. They wrote outdoors. We had high school students come in and share with some of those activities. So we've really made the most out of an outdoor experience. Again, want to do more. Mr. Zool comes over and teaches and talks about a lot about plants. We propagate and split things in the fall. We set them off until spring, and then we replenish some of the landscaping in and around our school with the plants from the fall. We work with seeds. We do some of that natural landscaping and growing as a part of just an extension of the universal science. But again, the kids talk and thrive in those experiences. So just thinking ahead to the goal here is to look at what we're doing, what's the best of it, and how can we do more.
The middle school is a little bit more about the exploratory process where students can have some voice and choice in what classes they take. We have, at the middle school, we have our universal science curriculum that is a comprehensive, 6th grade science, 7th grade science, 8th grade science. It is a combination of physical, life, earth, and space science, all those things. Some grades focus a little more than others, but it rounds out by the time they finish 8th grade for sure. And then our encore classes either are they're based in Project Lead the Way or they're path-based. So some of our path-based classes for options are health in 6th grade. Some of the highlights of quarterly health classes, the students will take a cup and they will make a one-way membrane on it to simulate how the lungs work inside the body with air coming in and going out, and they'll create a vacuum in there as they go through the different systems of the body in health. And then there's environmental education and outdoor education. Environmental education is a 7th grade class. Outdoor education is its secondary, its second step, I guess. It's moving into its 8th grade version, and the kids spend time outside. They look at ecosystems, they look at biomes, they look at invasive species, and they do projects outside, and they like being outside. I mean, who doesn't like being outside in all months of the year? Looking at our fantastic grounds that we have here to take advantage of that. So those are our path-based courses, and along with our Project Lead the Way courses, all of those encore classes are quarterly classes. So students can select a few of them, and they will be for 45 school days. So they'll have a class period for 45 school days. So by the time students get to 6th, 7th, 8th grade, they'll have a number of those classes. And also based on if they would take a music class, that might decrease the number of classes they could. It's just that balancing act of scheduling in there. But Project Lead the Way classes, Project Lead the Way is a platform. And where a science class is a little bit more inquiry and discovery based, how does this work? How did this become? A Project Lead the Way is thinking, okay, we have this system, how do we apply it? How do we take a problem and then solve it? So in the 6th grade design and modeling class, that's a Project Lead the Way class. Those are all certification courses. We have certain staff members who do summer work and become certified as a Project Lead the Way instructor. They have to take some coursework, they have to do some projects themselves to demonstrate that they can adapt the Project Lead the Way principles into what we do here of design and engineering. But in the design and modeling class, the problem might be for all sixth graders that, okay, you have a senior citizen that needs to open a jar, and they're having trouble with that based on a assistive device that they might need. Come up with a plan, design it, print it in the 3D printer, and then put it into practice and show us if it works. Team up with another group, put up a marketing strategy, that's like, way into the next, but those are the kind of problems. They take, here's what it is, let's apply our principles to make this better. Same thing with aerospace engineering. In 7th grade, they might have something where they plan a mission to Mars. And let's see, medical engineering, they look at DNA. They do guess the ailments, where people come in with symptoms and things like that. So that's a little bit more medicine-based. Science of technology in 8th grade, they look at nanotechnology in there. And some of the favorites in there include they simulate an oil spill from a tanker, and then they go through the different processes that a company would use to clean up that environment, preserve the ecosystem, and keep that in a really healthy way. So that's a little bit of what we have. We have some ideas and goals for what we want to build out on that, and what we can really kind of capitalize with our students here, and what we see as something that would be really beneficial.
And we've been recognized as a distinguished PLTW.
Gateway school.
Gateway school.
Yep.
So we also have that.
Yeah.
So building on that foundation, again, it's kind of interesting because as everybody was talking, I was thinking, okay, we have an outdoors type connection, and then we have this digital connection, because robotics and coding and 3D printing, right? And so I want to make sure we have kids outdoors and doing the life science things and planting and growing things. So it's interesting that all our ideas kind of came together to offer both of those. Again, gonna need your support on this. We want to continue to pursue it, and of course, down the road, support means we're gonna have to look at, what do we need to refresh? What do we need to build or extend or buy? So again, looking at those real world applications inside some of these signature programs, everything we do is pretty thoroughly planned, and we talk pretty consistently about expectations. So regardless of who's teaching this content, it's what does it look like in a Dreams Lab for a first grader, or how does it look indoor or outdoor for an 8-year-old, and the same thing is true with the independence at the middle school. And then threading those skills into our content, providing support so that the teachers who are facilitating these things have some really good professional development, upgrading and integrating our current model, building out more technology education opportunities, more opportunities for kids to learn those skills and use some of that high-end tech, and then again, adding and upgrading and adding new resources. So those two design areas were to build on a robotics pathway, to give kids greater opportunities and new resources to learn and develop some of those skills. Again, we know kids learn differently, and we also know that by the time these students have this experience, the world that they're going to enter their careers in is going to look and feel differently. So having an opportunity to learn more about coding, to learn more about 3D printing, and to learn more about CAD modeling and things like that might not be the skill they need 10 years from now, but it might give them a foundation. And when we think about those 5 other competencies about problem solving and creative thinking and perseverance, that might complement them well. In addition to that, Mr. Fox has brought up some really exciting ideas related to life sciences and hydroponics.
Yeah. So I've seen a couple examples, or an example of this working in a school, and it is absolutely excellent from the wellness perspective to community partnerships and to our science approach right now is absolutely amazing. There's room to build that out a little bit more. If you have a garden, or if you've ever had a garden, or you enjoy kind of the fruits of a garden, we can do that in a school classroom. We can take and we can have one of those quarterly classes be there, and there can be a classroom with standing hydroponic units that will grow cucumbers and tomatoes and peppers and lettuce and things that will supply all 3 of our school cafeterias with produce for each student to have a side salad every day. We could grow hundreds of pounds of lettuce and provide all the salads we could ever want. We could have a partnership with local food pantry. We could have a standing weekly donation that we make. We could partner with our personal finance class in 8th grade, and we could have a once a month farmer's market at North Shore to tie into that end of it. So to expand out that life science, the modern take on agriculture is what? Oh, you're sorry. I thought you were putting something
So
on
we're
here.
not
I'm
doing
getting
all of
passionate.
that next, we couldn't do all of that next year.
We couldn't do all of that.
but
That's why we were
already
on year
going to the
1 and
second
John
slide.
started talking about the next step.
Yeah, those are goals
This is
for
great,
year
we're
1.
excited.
Gotta see the vision. Gotta see the vision. I mean,
There's a shortage of some produce at Pick and Save today, I noticed. So we'll be able to get into
All of those things.
Yeah.
But John talked about those, so that's like year 2 and beyond, and we can only we can give you guys some cool ideas about what that might look like, but we know we're gonna have to put more planning, and we're also gonna bring in more input from our science teachers, our science leaders across the district, as we kind of get in that direction. You know, for today's purposes, we just wanted to share with you that we're excited about kind of envisioning that science program and adding some new pieces to it and coming back with the ideas that are related to that.
And I think just grounding ourselves in all those skills, the skills that we have been working on in Portrait of a Graduate, and then also those added skills that we talked about today.
Yeah, so that's why we kind of was gonna say, you know, going back to that being recognized for being a cohesive K-8 pathway, grounded in our Portrait of a Graduate skills that foster purposeful exploration for each student. We just believe that these pieces fit well together, and they provide us with a direction that will allow us to enhance science, robotics, life science opportunities, hydroponics, outdoor ed for all our students. So this is the next phase that we're interested in pursuing.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much for coming today and sharing. So yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about this previously. We've given you pieces of this. We're obviously not here to make a decision tonight, but I want you to, just really understand the level of work and excitement and desire to move forward. I think those Project Lead the Way courses are fantastic, but they've been the same for years. And so I think we're looking to grow and develop that. I think we're looking for opportunities for all students. When we talk about all students, our robotics team was in year 3 this year, and they went to state. They beat, won regionals, won sectionals, and went on to state.
Yeah.
It says a lot about the growth that they're leading to.
4th graders through 8th graders.
Yes, and boys and girls, and we all know, giving girls just as much of an opportunity to excel in robotics and engineering and technology as all other students, and providing that opportunity with obviously support, but we've done so much work already. Even our program right now that we have, based on everything they shared, I was like, you guys, you're making it too good. Other districts would be envious of what we have right now. It's old to us. And I think that's where we need a refresh, and we're looking at other concepts, and I think going back to those durable skills and trying to look at education in a different way rather than the way we've always done it and the way the rest of the world is doing it. We want to be the people that set it apart and really make it intentional. So great work, you guys. Thank you so much for bringing that vision forward. We really appreciate it. For the board, there's more to come unless you have questions for the team.
And you first, great job tonight. This is excellent, and I hope the community that's listening gets to see and hear all of the things that are happening in our district. And Mr. Fox, I have a question for you, since you are newer to our staff.
Yeah.
Excluding the things that are future facing, excluding those, please.
Yeah.
Could you give a perspective on your experience at other districts and how the total integration of the programs that we're doing currently compare to some of the other experiences you've had at other districts.
The first thing that comes to mind comparatively is Project Lead the Way is something that is present in most school districts. We are taking advantage of that highly. And at the middle school, the way our schedule is designed, we are allowed to have a lot of electives for kids comparatively. Our schedule is really nice, and there's a few requirements in our schedule based on traveling staff, and when some staff members are at South versus here, that allows us to be able to have a rich elective opportunity for the students here. And because of that, we're able to front load a lot of electives in, giving students a lot of choice, ultimately a richer opportunity. So that is the difference. I would say that the choice is greater here, and there's no bad end of that. That is just good when it comes down to it.
So are these, because I know that the four of you have worked together on preparation for this. Maybe speak to, if you have the experience down at the smaller levels, how does that total experience of the outdoor, the building, and that compare to maybe where you came from?
I think it could just be where we have an outdoor education class here. Outdoor education may be a unit. Design and modeling is an entire quarterly class here. It might be a week-long unit in other places.
If I may, too, I also think that part of it is critically dependent on the personnel you have working with you. And honestly, you could do anything you want between this school and Hartland South when it comes to the wetlands that we have and the wooded areas that we have. And I mean, obviously, you've taken advantage of the space you have at Hartland North as well, but not every school has that backyard. You know, they have to go to a park or to another place to just talk about what's living down at the pond, or you can go find natural erosion from last week. I mean, it's massive in some places, and it changes everything when the pond literally raises 5 or 6 feet, and where you were standing is no longer accessible. So, you know, we've got some incredible opportunities with the property itself, but again, it's about the people, because if you say, hey, you know, we're gonna give all the 4th grade teachers all this technology and all this equipment, we're still depending on those people who are incredibly trained in reading, writing, and math to facilitate and make it magical in a hands-on application. And the reason I bring that up is a lot of school districts just don't have the resources, they don't have the time, they don't have the professional development. I mean, it's unique that we meet with our teams on a regular basis and talk about those things. So I think it comes down to the people and whether or not we prepare them to be successful as well.
I think too, I agree with you, and I think adding to that, I think there is an element here of permission, if I may say. Just having the ability to say, I'll share with you, and it's premature, but I'm gonna share with you anyway, is this concept that when I first came on board here, I didn't know that pond and that wetlands and all that existed. I had no idea that was a thing. And I kept seeing Jake and Courtney and others trying to take the woods and put them in our grassy areas. And I said to Jake at one point, I said, we have the woods, let's go to the woods. And I think there was fear there, right? There's fear of the woods maybe, and oh gosh, really, you want us to go into the woods? We can go into the woods. And then we started talking a little bit more about the swamp area. Well, Jake today has no idea any of this is going on, sent an email saying, I would like to partner through, oh God, why do I always say the Boy Scouts, yeah, and have then build a boardwalk for our students to expand that outdoor education opportunity. It doesn't cost the district anything. Here we have this great foundation to support and build out these plans, and it's gonna be amazing. Like that's the kind of stuff that we're doing, and these guys are brave enough and strong enough in their craft to say, you know what, we're gonna fail forward if we, you know what I mean? We're gonna still keep going forward. And I think it's kind of an old phrase, that failing forward concept, but I think being brave and modeling that to say, no, we can do this, and this is how we're gonna do it, and you're gonna do it that way, and then we're gonna add that, and then this is how it all comes together. That's true teamwork. That's true collaboration. It's not collaboration to say that we're collaborating. That's truly collaborating and taking what you have and putting it together to create a program. And I just feel like you guys have done a really great job with that. And just to speak to programming, I've been in other districts like John has, and I would agree. It's either just a class or it's an experience, and we want experiences here at Hartland.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Oh, I actually have a question, Mr. Risch. With
Yes?
that boardwalk though, could you do more fishing classes?
It's interesting because last week,
Here we go.
somehow there's a bunch of goldfish in the pond right now. They're not natural, nor should they be there. So Mrs. Marshallek has been bringing them into the school. So now we have a lot of goldfish at school. We don't know how they got in the pond. At this point, that pond's a little shallow to sustain the kind of fish we would like there, but it's a great conversation.
Okay, well, just
If
wanna.
there were fish in that pond that I could catch routinely, that would bring a whole new meaning to recess duty.
You know what I mean? You know
How
what I
can
mean?
we make that happen? And then also, Mrs. Whalen, how can we get in on that Three Pigs experiment? Because I would love to use the wolf leaf blower.
Right, I'll have to let you know, they haven't, I think it might have already passed. I feel like it was in that classroom. Yeah, a few, right after Christmas, I think, but I can let you know about next year.
I mean, I got enough bugs and rocks at home, but I'd really love
It
to.
comes back around.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, very good, excellent, thanks guys. Just a couple of things that I want to share from the superintendent's report before we get a little long here. One was the boardwalk. You can see, well, maybe you can't, but the map here, and then on the back side of it is the picture of what it might look like. It's a raised boardwalk, elevated up above the way because it gets a little muddy down there. So we've also talked a little bit about a space that's down there, tucked away a little bit, that would be a great spot for some logs, some split logs possibly to provide as seating for a little outdoor classroom. As we kind of work to expand that. So more to come there. I did hear today, we are hosting here, it's a community forum. It's not for the school district, but we were contacted, and I think Mr. Cronick, I think is the engineer or something with it, and asked me today to please share. There's a meeting that will be held here at Hartland North Shore Middle School on April 23rd from 4:30 to 6:30. It's planned to discuss proposed improvements to County KE and County E intersection in the village of Hartland and the town of Delafield here in Waukesha County. Basically looking at putting in a roundabout over there. Any decisions that are made will be made in the project proposal. Where is it? KE and E? Is what it says here, for implementation and construction in 2028. So just so you know, that I was asked to share that, and it's being hosted here, so we're opening our doors to the community. It's another great opportunity to say that we're connecting and working with the community on that. Another piece that we've been talking a lot about, and let me tell you, it's taken us all year to get to where we are today, in this conversation with a professional development at each of our buildings on Friday, because we really wanted our staff involved in the conversation about AI. It's scary, it's to some, it's like, yes, let's go do it, to others, and we kind of had a gamut of it. And you have to remember there are 6 generations of people in any given school at any given time. And so, we've got people that are like, no, don't do anything with AI. Others are like, I'm ready to dip my toe in it. And others are like, yeah, I'm all in. We wanted to be really careful, and the board has worked really hard to approve and look at policy and have conversations about the plan. They have seen all of what we've done. We have worked as a team to try to really create a system that we are comfortable with, remembering, of course, that it is not here to take over curriculum or teach kids. That is not at all what we are looking at it for. So what we looked at is district-wide guidance for staff and students, clear expectations for ethical and responsible use of AI, instructional guardrails rather than rigid mandates, a phased, realistic approach to implementation, board-level clarity, oversight, and consistency. And then alignment to the strategic plan and portrait of a graduate we felt was really important. So we have 3 separate presentations, and all of our administration has taken a look at the presentation. This one happens to be for North Shore Middle School. The staff have already received their guardrails. They already know. They've already been kind of working within a framework. There are very, very specific things. AI is already part of your students' world. They encounter it daily through apps and devices. Educators benefit from AI for efficiency, differentiation, and data analysis, and it helps establish consistent ethical expectations across the school. You saw firsthand tonight what it can do as we look at presentations and whatnot, but we want to stay, and even Chris Dillon, who's at home right now, kind of making sure that this all gets out to you all, was really, really involved in this from a we have to make sure that we know what we're doing and how we're doing it, because there's violations of FERPA and HIPAA and all the things that we want to make sure that we're not doing. So we work together to really create this what AI is. AI is a tool that supports teaching and learning. It's a way to increase efficiency, planning, feedback, differentiation. It's a resource for idea generation and brainstorming. It's a support for personalized practice and scaffolding, and it's a means to enhance, not replace, strong instructional design. Here's what it clearly is better for us to define for our public, for everybody who knows. What AI is not for Hartland-Lakeside School District. It is not a replacement for the teacher-student relationship. It is not a substitute for professional expertise. It is not an automatic source of accurate or unbiased information. It is not a shortcut that eliminates the need for critical thinking. It is not a decision maker for grading, discipline, or student outcomes. And it is not a standalone instructional program. We are fully engaged in Google, so we are only working through Google because it's fully monitored. Everything that happens on Google in Hartland-Lakeside School District is saved and protected under a house, right? So it's a platform, and you don't go without that. You can't go without outside of that here in the district. So earlier on, we kind of talked at the very beginning of the year. I had some staff that were like, "He's using AI. Oh, I don't know what to do. He's using AI in the classroom, and I know it's AI, but I can't prove it." And like got really nervous about that. And yeah, they're experimenting too, and we are experimenting right along with them. And then some of us kind of not wanting to experiment, and so we kind of all just kind of work through it, and we use those as counseling moments and like, hey, so how did you use that, and what did you use, and where did you go, and I noticed that was this fact checked, and so we're working on it together, and I think we've done a really great job. Sarah's done just an exceptional job of making sure that we're going through these pieces, and then our principals knowing what their staff are doing, what they need to do, and what they would like to do, and then bringing it, of course, to PPC and having those conversations, and then tonight sharing with you one of the resources that we're always working to try to educate ourselves. I encourage you to go through this this catalog. There's some great articles, there's some great uses, some things that you might not like to see or might not want, and that's good too. It's good for us to have that kind of discourse if that's something that you're feeling or seeing when you read it. So take your time. Nobody expects for us to go through it. I will certainly be bringing this back at some point, probably May, June, because what our first step here is kind of giving them the guardrails. They're going to actually experiment with some stuff on Friday, and then we'll start to talk about how it affects classrooms in the future. So that's kind of where we're at with the AI piece. I think those are all of my Transportation, our times came out today, so please check your email. I do just wanna say that, it has been a long road. It has been a very long road with a lot of meetings, and I want you to understand that it isn't a lack of transparency, and I know it probably feels that way, and I apologize in advance for that, in afterthought, because of that. What I need you to understand is I never wanted to put misinformation out. I never wanted it to have to be where we have to come back and tell you that we didn't get it right, and now another decision has been made. And I think there's a lot of blame out there on Arrowhead. I think there's a lot of blame altogether. I will say, as I said to the board earlier today, if anything, it's the fact that Hartland-Lakeside said we are not gonna tolerate the safety of our students and putting them in front of buses anymore, that opened this can of worms 2.5, 3 years ago. And I own that, and I would own it again and again and again, because I will not compromise their safety. And so we've seen too much of that and too many questions about it. And I think what it did is it caused an awareness of what our contracts are and were and what should have never been and were for 25 years. And for 25 years, the districts created this problem, and now we had to try to come up with a solution. And once we started to recognize what that problem was, then everybody started going, I've got an idea, and I have an idea, and I have an idea. And I will say that the superintendents of all of the feeder schools worked together every time to try to come up with a plan, and everybody fought for their own district, as they should. That's what we're here for, is to fight for our own district, right? And I will say Arrowhead, every single darn time somebody had an idea, they went back to Dousman and we had another meeting. At no point was it a forced anything for any of us, but we finally came to an agreement and then didn't again come to an agreement. And it happened over and over again. So if this felt like it was disjointed, if it felt like you weren't being communicated with, if you felt like there was lack of transparency, that was never the intention. The intention was the exact opposite. Purposeful, meaningful, direct communication about what was actually happening all along was what we were looking to achieve here. This was something that was a long time coming, and 2 years from now, at the end of the day, for Hartland, we reached our goals. Our goals were to eliminate those shuttles in that transfer. We no longer will put kids in front of a bus. It will never happen again. I'm very proud of that. Our middle school students will be able to get to events for the first time in years. For the first time in years, they won't be the last kids showing up to practice or to a game. That's impactful for those families. I've heard about it from day one, right? Our north and south kiddos, their schedule hasn't changed, but I think one of the things I do want to clarify a little bit, it's maybe 5 or 10 minutes different. We purposefully offset them by 5 minutes because we know we have people dropping students off, so we wanted to make sure that people felt like they had the time to get from one building to the other instead of starting at the same exact time. But in addition to that, they're leaving their buildings. They're not leaving their buildings and coming to North Shore Middle School and sitting on a bus for 20 minutes. They're leaving their buildings at 3:45-ish, and they'll be home by 4. That's not happened. That's not been what the situation has been. They have not even been leaving the parking lot until 4:07. So these are all wins, even though I know it's changed and it's hard and we're trying to figure it out and we're sorting through it. I ask for your understanding in the process and why we went through it the way we did. It was long, it was arduous, and we're on the other end of it. And 2 years from now, we're gonna go through another change because we will likely move away from this contract. That'll be a board decision at that time, but we're committed to doing what's best for the educational purpose of our kids. So that's all I have to say for that, so thank you.
Okay, last one for you, right?
I'm done.
All right. Then we're moving on
Thank you.
to the Director of Business Services report.
All right, I've got a handful of items to kind of run through. The first is just a discussion of our monthly finance report. As with every month, just share with you kind of a breakdown of the cash position of the district, highlight anything that might be noteworthy or outside of the realm of normal. As far as cash and bank goes, operating checking ended the month with about 500,000. Our operating savings, about 8.9 million, a little bit higher, probably the highest you'll see it throughout the course of the year. We did receive some tax receipts as well as some state aid. Capital improvement savings, about 1.77 million. And then finally, our North Student Activity Account at about 11, almost 12,000. So in total, cash position is about 11.2-ish. Again, much needed cash receipts. I've said this a number of times, but we have the luxury of being able to be a debt-free school district. We don't short-term borrow. We have the ability to do that because of our cash balance. So, as far as spending went, there was nothing really out of the ordinary. It's actually a pretty light month. As far as spending goes, we're starting to ramp things down. We've already put on some cutoff dates on ordering. I know it seems like it's early, but gotta make sure we can close the books and make sure anything hits this fiscal year before 7/1. So that's just the general nature of a summary of our finances at this time. Does anybody have any questions? That takes us to capital improvement. So we've got really 5 major projects that have been budgeted for within our operating budget that are gonna occur here over the next few months. The biggest of those is our 3 paving projects. I can't give enough credit to Greg, our Director of Building and Grounds. I write the RFP, he does almost all the legwork, he meets the contractors on site, he walks it, he answers the questions, he'll oversee the projects as they're happening, but we have, because these are, I just wanna make sure, full transparency, because these are budgeted for, and we go out and go through the RFP process, which is a very transparent, open bidding process. As long as these items fit within the budget, they don't technically need board approval because they've already been approved through the budgetary process. We did go ahead and we got bids from 4 companies. We accepted 3, one of them didn't have the complete pricing that we needed in order to make a decision. Based on that, we are gonna move forward with PLM as a vendor for the paving projects at each of the schools. And just to highlight that, we're gonna be basically doing all of the playground areas in each of the schools. North Shore Middle School is gonna have a little bit extra because there's some apron here around the building. Also the apron that goes around the basketball courts will get done. We will also be replacing the path that goes between here and the elementary. Because these are not, they're not under load much, they're not being driven on. I just wanna highlight this because all of our bids include 50% paving base. And that paving base is simply the aggregate or the crushed stone that is underneath that really is the base for the asphalt that's gonna be laid on top. But they don't anticipate, each vendor told us this, they don't anticipate needing 50% base, but we priced it as such because I always wanna be conservative on my estimate. Really where they're gonna see that probably hit is where there's low areas and they need to add base for grading and drainage purposes. So we priced it that way, but again, it's probably, I would expect they're gonna come in a little bit lower based on not needing to replace 50% of all of the base material. PLM came in at the lowest price, but that's not exclusively why we went with them. We've got a great relationship with them. We've used them on already 2 other projects in the short history that Greg's been here. He's very, very happy and with the work that they've done, the way they manage their projects, how they can make themselves available. Before I may be letting the cat out of the bag, but we're gonna really try to hit this hard as soon as school gets out. PLM said they can have crews at each building, about 2-week turnaround. So I understand, and Greg does too, that there is summer school programming, but we will do our very best to mitigate any interruptions. It shouldn't be too big of an interruption as far as traffic flow because we're not touching any of the driving surfaces. But there are always gonna be some impact to that. So they'll all be fresh paved, they'll all get restriped, so the principals are hard at work trying to figure out how they want their four squares set up and where they want their different games to be set up. So very exciting. PLM came in at about $466,000. Price without base was about $348,000. So we're well within budget on this one. So that's the way we're gonna move forward as far as our paving goes. A couple other projects that we are not quite as far along in the process, but are really getting there. The elementary, the south elementary carpet in the library needs replacement. We have 3 bids in, one of them is still in process. They've already been out to the site, taken all their measurements, done everything they need to do. We're just waiting on that one to come back. Again, because this is gonna fall within budget, within expectations, I'll probably present at the next board meeting on which one of these we went with. But just for full transparency, I put the list of bids and the companies that submitted bids. And lastly, not as exciting as playgrounds. We have, and this has been education for me. I had no idea commercial kitchen equipment was so expensive. We have, over the last 5 years, we've replaced dishwashers at both of the elementary schools. However, the one is on its last leg here. Unfortunately, before we could get it replaced, we've had experienced some breakdown and some kind of Band-Aids we've had to put on it just to kind of get it through, limping in through the rest of the school year. But luckily, we're looking like it's gonna come in under budget. We've got 6 bids right now. The lowest bid, which is also a company that we've worked with to replace one of the other units at one of the elementary schools, which we've been very pleased with, came in just shy of $45,000. Again, I got an education. The cost of the unit is nearly $28,000, and installation and retrofitting is right around $17,000. Yeah, it's been an education. So, but
we can't turn that into like a learning class?
Yeah. But I always like under budget because then we can do cool stuff like they're presenting before.
So we replace a champion with a champion then?
Yeah, that's probably the route we're gonna go. We did champion at both of the other elementary schools.
How long do these last?
They say 15, 20, but how do you really know? We've got a 2-year, we'll get a 2-year warranty. We get an additional year because we're in education, a school that doesn't operate. It's not like we're running a commercial kitchen at a restaurant we're hitting it every week. It does get some off time during breaks in summer, so they take that into consideration and give us an extra year of warranty. So.
I actually had a question about the paving, sorry.
Yeah.
So we're doing the walking path between the school,
Yep.
between North Shore. So being that summer school is at North Shore, how's that affecting the walkers? Or do we know? Can we set up something that?
We'll mitigate it the best we can. We'll figure out a solution. I mean, I know there's gonna be some disruption.
Right.
But we'll make sure that there's some way to get through, or staggering when they're doing it.
Sure.
But, yeah, we haven't started to iron out those wrinkles yet, but, definitely be something we consider.
And then my other one was the swings that are behind North Shore that are new. Is there any paving that's gonna flatten that out? Cause it looks like there's like kind of a step in the front, but it's flat at the back?
I think that happened in the fall, that was an October project, and then winter came pretty quick.
Okay.
So I think there's gonna be some
Grading.
grading, yeah, there's
Okay.
gonna be some blasting grading, yeah.
Yeah, I know it
Yeah,
was not part of the bid.
Okay, just wanted to.
Yeah, but that was just late in the season, I think, yeah.
So, all of these fall within the capital budget that we set as part of the budgetary process way back when for this fiscal year. So all of these projects will be completed, knock on wood, before July 1.
And I'll just add to that, when he says that's in budget, that's out of that $16 million
Yeah.
operating budget I mentioned, this is not touching the 1.77. So when we look ahead, that's how we're mitigating this stuff, right? Like,
Yep.
lose $500,000, what happens in 5 years is that doesn't come out of operating budget, it comes out of our capital budget, and then that thing starts to drain. So that's where we have this cushion to make these things, but it becomes harder and harder for us to do this stuff within budget. We are doing, I think, sat in a lot of those Arrowhead referendum meetings, and everybody is saying that Arrowhead just basically sat on their building for 40 years and didn't do anything. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. But we are making a lot of improvements here within our budget.
Yeah, and we'll continue to do so when we can. I'll be the first to tell you, I spent 15 years in the classroom. When I hear these guys talk, that makes me want to do more of this. Because numbers, I love numbers, but that's my why.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll continue to try to be as fiscally forward as we can, be financially responsible, and try to take care of as much of this as we can within our operating budget and not touch that capital plan. More to come next month when we do have a board workshop for updating our capital improvement, our 10-year capital improvement plan, based on the Findorf study that we had done here at Hartland-Lakeside. So not the first time we're gonna talk facilities. The next two items are discussion and decision items. We have had a kind of a pathway of getting to our health insurance renewal. As you heard Matt talk about initially, the number came in close to 27%. And if you know anything about healthcare inflation, it's running at a rate that is far in excess of your standard inflation. 12 to 15% renewals, unfortunately, right now are becoming more of the norm and less of the exception. So we received the first word that, hey, we've got a big number coming down the pipeline. Worked with our broker team, they've been awesome. Cottingham and Butler, I can't say enough good things about the work that they've done with us. But as soon as the number came out, they got to work. And I said, hey, let's leave no stone unturned. Let's figure out, here's kind of the directive that I gave them. I said, I want as minimal disruption as possible. So as minimal disruption to our employees and families, as far as the coverage goes, the network goes. I want them to feel the pain as little as possible. So I want whatever changes will provide outsized cost savings at minimal disruption. What we did is we went to bid. We got new bids from Anthem. After Anthem came to the table with new bids, United Healthcare, who is the current provider, came back to the table with some other options. At the 11th hour, literally, I got an email from the broker yesterday, working on a Sunday, said, hey, just got off the phone with UHC. This is what they're sending us. Long story short, Anthem provided us, so the district currently has two healthcare plans, a high deductible plan and a copay plan. So Anthem, they sent us their two versions of the copay plan and the high deductible plan. Full transparency, there are ways that their plans are better than what we currently have, and there's ways that are a little bit worse. Just you can't say it any other differently. There's cost benefit analysis to everything. That came with a 15.3% increase. UHC came back to the table with their two options, and their two options brought their increase down to 18%. After taking careful consideration with network, copay, high deductible plan comparisons. I'm recommending that we go with the Anthem plans with a 15.3% increase. It provides the most cost savings, it provides minimal disruption or as minimal as possible. It allows us to keep putting money into classrooms, funding programming, and we're not changing the percent that employees pay. The district is still gonna cover the same percentage. That is my recommendation. For full transparency, I put about 6 different attachments on here because the story kind of changed every time we got a new update. But that would be my recommendation. Questions?
If no one has any questions, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the health insurance renewal suggestion as provided by the administration to go with Anthem.
Would that include the $50 surcharge, or is that separate that we would discuss?
Nope, and actually I'm glad you said that, because I wanna bring that up.
So I don't want to
So,
lump together.
thank you for,
Yeah.
because and that's why I specifically referenced it in the last memo. Part of our cost saving strategy is, much of the community probably doesn't know about it, I think most of the board members do. We have what's called a Family Advantage Health Plan. And the way the Family Advantage Health Plan works, it's an incentive program for employees that have access to other insurance. So let's say one spouse works here at the district, one spouse works outside the district. If you take your family off of our health plan, or just yourself, you and your spouse or your family, whoever, and you move to that other plan, what we can do, and this screams to how expensive it is for us to provide coverage. We can cover your out-of-pocket costs up to the ACA maximum. And that's as long as you use your in-network providers with your other insurance. So basically, it's like insurance for your insurance. So you were to move your family to your new plan, the district would then cover your out-of-pocket costs. And not only would we cover your out-of-pocket costs, we would pay you a $50 stipend per month for each member that you moved off our plan. The reason we're able to do it, because everyone's like, well, that just seems too good to be true. The reason we're able to do it is it's because how expensive it has become to cover employees, spouses, family members. So we can provide that benefit to them and still save money. One of the incentives to get employees to that plan is we are going to do, which they did last year. We did a great job. We've got about 12 people on the plan right now, and I would guess it's gonna grow to over 25 this year. I think it'll double. I can tell you, my spouse and I will be on there as soon as our open enrollment is. One of the ways we're gonna do that is through education. We're gonna go through to each building and have employee meetings. Obviously, we're gonna show them the new plans, but we're also going to do a comprehensive review of the Family Advantage Health Plan and kind of how it can benefit them as an employee while also benefiting the district. So education, promotion, but then there is the spousal surcharge, which is not a new thing in the world of insurance. Private sector has been using them for 15 years-ish, and it's I don't want people to think about it like a revenue generator, because that's really not what it's about. At $50 per month, it's not gonna make or break anything for the cost of insurance that the district is paying. But it is just a little bit more incentive for an employee to say, well, hey, if my spouse has coverage elsewhere, maybe we go there and jump on that Family Advantage Health Plan. We can not only can we get $50, but we can avoid paying $50. So that's the thought process behind it. It was one of the strategies that was recommended by our broker team, and as I did a little bit more digging and saw how prevalent they were, We didn't wanna make it a huge number so that it was like a gouge, but we did wanna make it so that it was something there to at least make you think.
And so this would be starting July 1st, I think is right?
Yep.
With this $50 surcharge?
Correct.
So then, I mean, I guess I don't know how this works, where if I'm in the district, my family has the district plan, but we think, oh, nope, I'm gonna take advantage of the Family Advantage plan. But how do you then switch if his open enrollment is until December?
Good question. We've taken account for that. And so is our broker team, so, it is the one plan that you can switch outside of open enrollment.
Oh.
So you can migrate off of our plan, so like my wife's open enrollment, just per example, is December.
Yeah.
So when her December open enrollment comes, we will go ahead and join her plan for the January 1 start. Most companies follow a January 1.
Yeah.
We have this wonky fiscal year of July 1 to
So then would
6/30.
you still be charged the $50 surcharge from July to December? Because
You would be until you moved.
even though you can't move
Correct.
until December?
Correct.
Okay.
And again, that's why we didn't wanna make it $100, we didn't wanna make it anything, it's $50 and it's only charged on the spouse.
Right.
So the person that has direct access to that other plan,
But if they were a stay-at-home or a
then it wouldn't apply.
insurance, they don't get charged.
It's only
Which
if
is
you have
normal.
access to other insurance and you're not taking it.
But there's no way to get rid of that fee.
But if you're a stay-at-home person and you've got
That's-
an employee here, they're not having insurance,
Correct.
right?
Right.
But if
Sorry.
you're using the plan, then you should pay for the plan.
Correct.
So that's that $50 incentive
Yeah.
fee. They're not paying they're not on our health insurance.
No,
They're
I
still
get
6
that,
months.
they're
just gonna
on
pay-
our insurance,
they're
but
just
they
gonna pay
can't
50
switch until December because of open enrollment, so we're
Yep.
still gonna charge them a fee even though they're gonna change. Because I get it that they may not change and you could say I'm
Yeah,
gonna change, so don't charge me.
and we're gonna, you're right, it's not a perfect system,
Yeah, I just
but,
don't love that, but I get it,
mhm.
but I wonder if there's a way, is there something we can do for that?
Well, I can tell you this. It probably won't suit exactly the situation, but let's just say you gotta pay 3 months of $50.
Yep.
You're gonna collect how many months of $50
That's
being
true.
paid to you from the district that's gonna more than offset that.
Okay, and I think that is something that should be explained to people
Yeah.
too, because your
that's-
rates maybe not, well, they're going up, but you're getting another $50 charge.
And that's kinda why we went up with $50,
Yeah.
because it's exactly what we pay per member when they move.
Look at you, figure
So-
that out.
That was Becca, so you have to give her credit.
Great job, Becca. Okay, thank you for explaining that,
Yeah.
because that makes a lot more sense, and I think that needs to be explained as well
We'll
during
highlight that.
meetings,
Yep.
because some
Yeah,
people might get
it's-
stuck on that
You know-
charge.
You know, when you wear the hat of finance director and human resources director, it's like, I've already told the staff, I'm like, the jobs I have, the two roles, they're completely at odds with each other. Like, I would love to give everybody 10% raises and cover health insurance, Cadillac plan, if we could. Now, the other side of the job is you have to be fiscally responsible, and it's not, so.
So then do we vote to approve that 50, or do we vote to
Yeah,
approve?
Chris made a motion, which I'll second.
I didn't make it, I asked if anyone would be willing to make it.
I will make a motion to approve the health insurance plan as presented by Patrick. I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Just to clarify, that's annual.
And the $50 surcharge.
Yeah, it's all packaged, yep.
Just wanna make sure I'm clear
Sure.
that we are voting on going with Anthem and charging the $50.
That would be it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of going with Anthem as presented, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Okay, last,
Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
excellent job. Last item is teacher compensation adjustments for 26-27. So looking at CPI numbers for the year, they came in at 2.63, which is consistent with Act 10, within the statutory requirements of collective bargaining. So as part of that, I'm gonna recommend a 2.63% increase to teacher compensation, moving from 25-26 to 26-27. I also included in there a list of the updated contract amounts for your review, so that we can go ahead and so I guess really what we're approving is a 2.63% increase and the corresponding contract amounts as listed.
And and I know we talked about this during our finance meeting, but just in case the Chris's and Matt, the 2.63 is the max we can do because of Act 10, correct?
As a group, now.
Correct, yes,
You have the
that's right, you
ability
did say that.
to bargain as if an individual came in and said, I wanna bargain, they could still do that, but to offer it collectively to the group.
Which is something I did not realize until you had said that, so wasn't sure if you guys knew that.
Did you guys have questions, want clarification?
Our catch-ups, are they all caught up?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, we're done with that. And then I will also say that this is a time thing because we have to have contracts out by May 15th.
Yep.
So the board knows that.
I'll make a motion to approve the teacher compensation adjustments as presented.
I'll second.
Any additional comments or discussion? I just had one comment to keep in mind the performance of the district, the wonderful things happening that the administrators talked about this evening, and how well the district is doing. So I would encourage everyone to support the motion. I think it's a really good thing, and I wish we could do more.
Yeah, that's why I pointed out we can't do more.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
That's all I got.
You sure?
Oh.
Good opinion, right?
It's about the 5th time I've heard you give that.
I would love to hear it again.
No, Patrick, you did a great job. I appreciate it. There's a lot of information there and you're juggling a lot of balls. So thank you for doing that.
I love the way that you explain things. It's just so much easier to digest the way that you explain things, so I appreciate that.
Teacher in a.
That's right. All right, next, moving on to 14, future board or committee action discussion items. I have nothing personally. Does anyone have anything?
No.
All right, then we'll move into future meetings. PPC, 9 AM, Monday, May 11th, is that correct?
Yep.
Finance Committee, Tuesday, May 12th at 8:30 AM.
Mm-hmm.
And then our school board meeting will start at 5:30 on May 20th, and I'm guessing that's with a workshop or
That
a
is,
meeting?
that's the workshop.
And that's a
That's
Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
And that's an open workshop?
Yeah, that workshop is for capital improvements.
Greg and I will run it.
Do we need to do anything like a spreadsheet or anything?
What we will do is, in advance of the workshop, we'll send you a rough draft of what we have. We've shared with you guys the Findorf study. So whatever prep work you guys wanna do, but it's really about gaining your input on the rough draft of the plan. And kind of looking at what that planning process looks like.
Is Little Red, I didn't see Little Red Schoolhouse in the facility plan. Is that just not something we do anything to?
Well, so, you want me to talk?
Oh, sorry, should that be?
You can.
For the longest time, it's been, for lack of a better, I mean, it's just kind of been a money
Pit?
I don't know about a pit, but it definitely, what is the purpose, right? We are looking at some alternative things for the near future. So before we kind of start having those conversations, I think we need to solidify some things within the district to try to help us kind of mitigate some other costs again. Always kind of trying to come up with ways to improve
We
our.
are discussing
fiscal.
better ways to utilize the Little Red Schoolhouse.
Perfect.
Thank you, that's what I meant to say.
Should we have our meeting over there in the Little Red School?
Ooh, it's a choice
That's
for
just what
you.
Greg wants to do, is in the room's gonna
Yeah,
get ready for us.
right.
And Chris still.
Dylan's the one that actually,
Yeah.
Dylan and.
I don't think that's
Brendan.
quite wired for audio visual.
Chris,
We don't
are you still
do
with us?
audio visual for committee meetings.
Oh, you're right. I thought you meant the next.
Oh, no, our committee meetings would be
workshop.
perfect to be there.
That would work.
Okay, all right, then at that point, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn,
At 9:07.
what he said.
I'll second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your support, guys.
Thank you guys, yep,
Oh.
it's good stuff.
Gretchen stayed all night?
Oh.
Wow.